Lippitt, owner of the Hill Street Group and host of Communication is an Art, the podcast. I'm a communications strategist, a public speaker, and a leadership trainer. Most weeks, I'll be joined by other communication specialists, but every few weeks, you'll hear from just me to equip you, the listener, with practical tools and strategies to navigate through your day with confidence. These podcasts are always non-scripted and conversational. So let's dive into this together. Well, here we are. It's October 1st, 2025. I'm not sure how we got this far into the year so quickly. The beginning of Q4, the beginning of the stretch toward winter, the time that the October boys are playing baseball, go Tigers. As always, go blue. We're in the Michigan football season. I just can't believe we got to this point in the year already. I think this is the fastest the year has ever gone, or maybe I'm just a little bit crazed by this point. I had a conversation with someone the other day and I said, I don't know, like I'm not paying as much attention as I should. And she said, how can any of us be paying attention? The world is so crazy around us, and we hear about shootings every day and this every day and that every day. And no matter where we turn, life is just dropping on our heads. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about what happens when I get anxious and what I've learned over time. And perhaps you'll take some good lessons away from this or some things you can try and do. When I was young, I'm the first to admit I could get loud. I could get loud when I was upset at the airport. I could get loud when I was upset in a meeting. I could get loud. And then I learned that getting loud is not the answer. Getting quiet is the answer. And so now, when I'm in a situation where there's just too much noise around me, and to be honest, I get migraines from ambient noise in multiple conversations. So I tend to get really quiet. When I don't feel good, I get quiet too. I just kind of close off from the world. Is that what you do? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if there are comments, or make comments in the notes below, and tell me what you do when the world around you is just a cacophony of sounds. Okay, that's a good word for today, cacophony. Let's see if you know what that means, or if you need to look it up. My goal is always to have to look up a new word. I love that when that happens, but I digress. I digress a lot. People know that. I'm talking about being quieter. And I wanted to tell you a quick story. My first job out of college that I was recruited for, I ran a 5-state youth group, which meant that there were often times when there were 300 to 500 high school kids in front of me who were mostly tall. All the boys were taller than me. They were 16, 17, and 18, and I was 22. And I probably looked younger than most of them anyway. So have you ever tried to get 300 to 500 high school kids who haven't seen each other in person in a while, way before internet or any kind of FaceTiming or things like that? And the first couple of times I got loud. I yelled, be quiet, hush up, whatever. And then an epiphany hit. And instead of getting loud like they were, I got quiet. And I put up my hands and I made a downward motion quietly. It's one of my favorite pictures. I'll see if I can find it and add it somewhere, of me quieting down the group. But I did it with no sound coming out of my mouth. And if there was a sound, it was truly a whisper. I'm ready to start. Quiet down. let's get going. Instead of talking loud or pretending or thinking that I could possibly speak louder than all these kids, I spoke quietly. And when I did that, when I settled down and settled down my voice, they settled down too. And it's a real example of when you're in a noisy situation, maybe take a moment out and say, you know what? Instead of getting louder to keep up with the crowd, I'm going to get quieter so the crowd pays attention to me, because that's what will happen. The crowd will pay more attention to the quiet voice than the loud voice. So that's my tip, one of my tips today about why it's important to get quiet instead of loud. I'll tell you another thing. My best friend has 4 kids, 3 girls and a boy. And I say 3 girls and a boy because we always laugh that the youngest, the boy, never got a word in edgewise. I don't think we ever heard from him. And we always used to laugh and say, well, it's because the girls talked for him. And they really talked for him. He never had a chance to answer a question. But as he grew up, something really interesting happened. He didn't talk a lot, but boy, when he did, it was something usually funny or important or spot on or took the breath out of the room. Why? Because he was mostly quiet, but when he had something to say, it was really important. So that's tip 2. When you're in a meeting, when you're in a situation, you don't have to fill the room with your own voice. Everybody gets sick. You get sick of your own voice. Can you imagine how other people feel? Save it for when you have something to say. And that goes a lot for meetings too. You know, when we're young, I think we think in a meeting or when we're new in a situation, we always think we have to have something to contribute to every single point on an agenda. But then you're seen as the person who has to say everything about every single piece on an agenda. So my suggestion is, again, to get quiet in your thoughts as opposed to louder or more often in your speech. So now when I'm in a meeting, I really, really try to hold back. For those who are laughing at that, you don't know how bad I used to be. But I really try to hold back. I try not to have something to say about everything because I recognize how I feel about the people who do. And I even get to points in meetings when I think to myself, okay, Pam, you have said enough. Quiet down and listen. I literally say that to myself during a meeting, recognizing I have spoken too much and it's not what I want to do. I want to be the person who speaks quieter, not louder, who has salient points to make, important things to question, not the person who questions everything, because that gets really, really annoying. It gets annoying to ourselves, right? Forget how it must feel to other people. So that's kind of tip 2, 3. Make sure that when you're talking, you're saying things that are really important, not just to fill the space. You know, there are space fillers. I find them everywhere we go, especially when I'm networking or when I'm meeting one-on-one with people. And I'm doing consulting work and coaching work with people. I will often talk about the importance of silence in the conversation. Why? It gives you time to think and to understand and to really like give the other person the time to address the situation or comment on the situation or share information without having to speed up because they know you're going to interrupt them at any moment. So it's hard to do. I'm not saying it's not hard to do. Look, if these things were easy, I wouldn't have a job and we'd all be perfect. we are not. We're all a work in progress. I always say I'm always learning. I love being an adult learner. I love when someone new teaches me something new. In fact, and I was speaking to an attorney this morning about some other consulting work I do. And he kept using this phrase because I need to talk to someone else about something. He kept saying, "Can you explain that? I want to better understand that." Or I want to understand this better. And he kept using that phrase as we talk. I want to understand, like, tell the other person you want to understand it better, because I think he's asking for way too much, more than we need to do. And we can't quite figure out why. And finally, I said to him, Nathan, I'm probably going to cite you in an upcoming podcast, and I'll let him know I'm doing this. Nathan Upfall, an attorney in Michigan. I really thought that comment was such a good one. I want to understand this better. I often, when I'm networking or figuring or meeting with someone, especially one-on-one, will say to them, can I repeat that so I make sure I'm understanding what you said? I find that's a really good tool to make sure both people leave a conversation on the same page and there's no mixed messaging and no misunderstanding about next steps. But he took that to an even more previous thing by starting by saying, I want to understand this better. And then once the person explains it, if you understand it, I would still recommend repeating those steps or whatever that is back to them so that you both walk away knowing what's coming next, knowing if there's follow-up, knowing if you're doing a pitch, what the next piece is. If you're looking for funding, hearing the feedback and listening. That's really important, especially when you're looking for funding, to understand what a potential funder is telling you. Because what they're telling you in that moment may make the difference on your next appointment with a potential founder and going forward from there. So all those things kind of are the piece that allows us to be quieter, to listen to other people, to not have to be the loudest voice in the room. And so I bring you these kind of tips each week. And I'm saying this is my season 2 start because it's the 4th quarter and I'm moving a little bit different in my direction of how I'm doing my podcast. You'll be hearing from me with tips and different ideas a lot more in the coming weeks. I'm also, wait for it, going to be doing a 3-day live stream on LinkedIn about communications, probably like a workshop. I haven't really figured it out yet, so I'm saying this to you early. So if you say to me, I want to understand this better, my answer is going to be, I want to understand what I'm going to do better too. But it's flipping around in my mind. I want to get out there on something live and really respond to your questions, what you're thinking, how to connect, how to network, how to speak so your voice is heard and respected. We can do a lot of talking where we're not respected. I want to talk and I want to share tips and help you be a better communicator, both in speaking and in understanding, because that's really the path to leadership and to getting asked to do more and more responsible things, because people will know that you're not going to just fill up the air with time, that you're going to respect their time and that you're going to move forward together. So my goal for these recordings really is going to be short, sweet, and to the point. I am doing this recording. We're just under 14 minutes. I'll probably talk for another half a minute and then let you go back among your day. I hope you'll like this. I hope you'll follow my podcast, Communication is an Art, and I hope you'll reach out especially on LinkedIn, and let me know what you think. I'm always interested to hear. And if you have questions or you have a situation where you would like to learn more about how you maybe should have responded or should respond, so that going forward, you're using your voice to enhance the work you're doing, not cripple the work you're doing. So that's it for today. I'm using my secret power of getting out of here in 15 minutes, plus my little intro and outro. And I will see you again next week. Thank you all for listening. Hi, this is Pam Lippitt from the Hill Street Group. Thank you for listening to Communication is an Art. Make sure you subscribe and continue to listen. We really appreciate it. Share with your friends all those different lovely things. And we will be back soon. Have a great day.